Good day, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the Vise Squad. I'm Ryan. I'm your Wednesday host. Vise Squad, brought to you by Anadramas Fly Company and Fly Life Co. You can check them out. All their stuff, their gear, their supplies, their tools, everything that they sell fit on fishing and outdoors.ca for Canadian residents and .net for our American friends and international friends as well. On the mobile version, you'll have to scroll down a little bit, but look for sponsors and specialty shops. You can find the link to their stores in there. This week, carrying on with our DC Comics theme, we chose Aquaman, and it only made sense to make it a streamer because he's underwater. So I chose a Slumpbuster. So this is Slumpbuster-ish. It's a little different just because the body's a little different, and I haven't tied the zonker in with a wire the way a Slumpbuster normally would be, but all in all, it's similar. So we will start with a size 8, 2 extra heavy, 3 extra long. This is a must-add streamer hook. And I believe it's a 3/16 brass cone head. And what I'm going to do is start that thread right behind the cone head. Like so. We'll get rid of our tag. Now, before I tie anything else in, what I'm going to do is create the taper on the body now, because it's easier without having all the other materials hanging off the back end of the hook. So what I'm going to do is get Rick to kick this into high gear for us, and I'm going to build a taper from front to back here. All right, so once we have a bit of a taper made, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, this is a pine squirrel zonker strip in fluorescent chartreuse. It was the closest I could get to green. So we've got our strip here, and if you look at these strips, the hair sort of flows one way. The hair is going to kind of lean to the one way or the other. So what we want to do is put that hair pointing backwards. And what I want to do is measure out what we want for a tail. So the strip itself, we'll make the strip behind the hook, or the tail portion, I guess, the length of the hook. And what you can do is just get your fingers a little wet, and that'll help control that hair so it's not sort of all over the place. And what I want to do is wherever I've parted that hair, I'm going to take my thread and tie it right in at that spot. And what I want to make sure I do is keep that right on top of the hook. You could add a drop of super glue in there just to help it stay there. So I'll do a few wraps, nice and tight. And I'm going to lift that strip up, and I'm going to put some damming wraps underneath it just to really lock that in there. All right. Next, what I'm going to do is take some medium, I believe this is medium green holo tinsel. And I'm going to tie that in on my side. And I want to tie it, if you looked at the hook shank this way, I want to tie it on the top half of that. Now I'm going to take some gold embossed tinsel. This is size medium as well. I like this because it's dimpled and it sort of reminded me of the Aquaman armor. So what I'll do is I'll wind my thread back, and I want to tie this sort of on the bottom half of that hook shank. And you only want to tie it in just a little bit. You don't want to tie a whole great big long stretch of it in down the side. Just a little bit at the back. So next, what we'll do is we'll advance our thread forward to the front. And at this point, you could, if you had any low spots, you could fill the dips in of your thread if you wanted. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get to the front, and I'm just going to, you could throw a half hitch in. I like to use my whip finisher tool because I'm really not all that great at running half hitches. And I'm going to put my thread aside. Now what I'm going to do is get that to the back there. I'm going to wind that holo tinsel forward, and you want to make sure you're overlapping as you go, just so you don't get any gaps in it. like that. Alright, once we get to the front, we'll take our thread and we'll capture that. A few turns. And we'll snip that out. Next we'll take that embossed tinsel. Now if you've never used this stuff before, it is actually metal. It's completely unlike holo tinsel, so you really gotta sort of work it forward. It won't just overlap on itself very well. It'll always want to kind of go straight, so you kind of just really be patient and take your time rolling it forward. And try and keep the spacing even. And we'll get to the front and we'll tie it off. And you should be able to wind that out of there, just like wire. All right. So next, what we'll do is we'll take that zonker strip. And we'll find where we want to tie it in. So I want to tie it in just at the thread. I don't want this to be super, super tight because I think it's just going to snap off. So we'll leave a little bit of slack in it. Like that. I don't want to tie it right up to the cone head either because we are going to wrap into the cone head here. So a few wraps of thread there. And then I think I'm going to set my thread aside for this again. I'll just throw a couple of knots in that. Next what we'll do is we'll take that zonker strip and we're just going to start wrapping it around the hook shank. Just making sure that you're working up towards so you can get inside that cone head, and that'll help finish it. You won't have any blank spots behind. And you want to wrap it fairly tight. Like that. So I'm pretty happy with that. Looks like I'm working my way up all the way underneath. There we go. So I'll put a few turns in there just to secure it. And I'm going to reach in there and snip the rest of that out. I'm going to grab whip finish tool. I probably could have put one more turn in there, but that's all right. All right, I'll just straighten everything back up. Like so. And that's what we'll call the Aquaman Slumpbuster. Hope you guys see it the way I do. Rick sure liked it anyway. He told me he did. Hopefully he wasn't lying to us. At any rate, if you enjoyed the video and you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button and the bell beside it, and you won't miss any of our upcoming content, which there's all sorts of content coming on between Adam and Bryce, who've also are putting videos up every week, and all the other content that's that Rick's got going on there. So, and again, thanks to our sponsors, that's Fly Life Co. and Anadramas, and you can find them on fishingandoutdoors.ca for Canadian residents and .net for our American and international friends. Until next week, everyone, thanks so much for watching, and take care.